like this. So how are you feeling today,
really
Josh?
loves that
And
chair.
thank you for taking the time for being with us today.
That's okay. Yeah, I feel great. I'm happy to be. I'm excited. This is my first interview inside VR.
Yeah, man. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
So please tell us a bit about yourself and the team at Secret Location. And is the actual location of Secret Location a secret?
Well, the location's on our website, so I guess not so much.
You guys heard him track it down.
So
I like that.
our company is based out of Toronto in Canada, and we've been around for just over 10 years now. Originally, we did work for hire stuff like movie and TV extension, like web work, and then when the DK1, the Oculus DK1 came out, we started messing around with it, and we ended up doing a project for a TV show called Sleepy Hollow, probably like in 2015, I think this was.
Yeah.
It was a promotional piece to promote the second season, and so we made this short experience where you're in VR and you get your head cut off by the Headless Horseman, and it premiered at...
program.
Yeah,
Cool.
It premiered at Comic that year, and it went on to win... Actually, no, it didn't. No, wait, yes, it did. It went on to win the first Emmy for a VR project ever.
Nice.
And from that point, we were sort of like fully a non-VR from a development standpoint. And we put out Blasters of the Universe last year,
man.
and
good
then
game.
this year Transpose. And we also released another narrative-driven piece. It's like a 35-minute short film in VR called The Great Sea, which is based on a Philip K. Dick story. So that's out there as well.
Oh, wicked, man.
That's amazing, yeah.
Blasters of the Universe is
Yeah.
absolutely like incredible. I think everyone here like, absolutely loves that game.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, it was the first large-scale production that we did, and I think it turned out pretty well. I mean, a lot of people seem to love it, so that's great. And yeah, I love the project too.
Yeah, sure.
So, Retro Time, it's kind of a tradition around here to start things off with what is your favorite all-time gaming console and favorite game of all time?
Well, I'd say...
This one always
Okay,
gets
so
me.
I'd have to say my favorite gaming console would be the very first console that I remember playing a lot of when I was a child, the Sega Master System 1.
Oh, yes.
I played so much Wonder Boy on there, and so much Hang On, like the built-in
Hang on.
Yeah.
motorbike racing game. Like it just like that's what got me into video games. And then I guess my favorite video game of all time would have to be Super Mario Brothers 3. Just
Nice.
yeah, I just love it. I just love it. I love all the different suits and stuff that you can get.
I still play that one.
Fantastic.
I love people's reactions. I love it. Like Jim is like, oof. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. I myself
He's
was
just
more of
dropped
a
a
Super
massive
Nintendo
bomb,
guy. But
I
no,
love
it's
it,
cool
man.
to
I
hear.
love it. But yeah, the Master System. Did you have?
Well,
the
Master
original
System is the
with
Genesis.
with the
It's just
for the card.
the EU
It had a
version
card
of the
slot, and then it
Genesis.
had a
It's the same
cartridge
thing
slot on top, and
practically.
it was like long, as opposed to the Master System 2, which
Wolfen.
is like a lot smaller, and it didn't have the card slot.
Yeah, and it had the slidey shelf on the top as well.
Yeah, it had a shelf on top.
So-
Yeah,
yeah.
but we had the original one, which was like quite longer and like sort of boxy.
Yeah,
Mark
that's
1.
it.
Yeah.
What happened to your first one then? Your Generation 1?
I think it broke at some point. I'm sure me and my brother probably like threw it across the room in frustration at some point, and it broke.
That's right.
But yeah,
I completely forgot.
it's no longer with us. R.I.P.
Mine got trod on, so I don't forget that one.
Yeah.
Sweet. So,
Great stuff.
speaking of video games, could I get like I'd love to hear like a small list of your favorite puzzle games and like kind of what you look for in a puzzle game when you're playing them. What kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously Portal was like a massive influence on Transpose, and that was like a game that we played a lot of when we were doing sort of research to start with. Another game that was a great reference for us was actually a mobile game called Does Not Commute. It's like it's a single screen, and you drive a car from one side of the screen to the other side, and then time rewinds, and you have a different vehicle that starts at a different point, and you have to drive that across the screen. But your previous car that you've driven drives its path. So you keep adding more and more vehicles, and so you end up with this like crazy mishmash of like cars dodging each other as they try to drive across the screen. It's a really great game. It's on
That sounds amazing.
It's on iOS and Android. Yeah, it's great. So those were sort of like the two main sort of influences on Transpose, and I guess what I like to look for, and I think what makes a good puzzle game is like slow, like incremental learnings, and then puzzles that are just difficult enough to make you feel super smart when you work it out, but not have to sit there and sort of scratch your head and be frustrated for too long.
Yeah.
Which is a very fine line to sort of walk, especially in puzzle games.
You definitely got that right.
Secret of Monkey Island didn't care, if you understand.
No,
that game was cool.
No, it did not care at all. It didn't help you. It was just like, go for it. Try it. Just try.
Why's you got to mention that? I'm really thinking about that now.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
So we've got a question from Shug next.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm gonna break with my standard questions here and just give you. Can you give us a quick elevator pitch about Transpose for any viewers who haven't played the game yet?
Yeah, sure. Transpose is a puzzle game set in a surreal world where you create recordings of yourself called echoes, and you work together with your echoes to solve puzzles in that world. So, for example, I can walk across the room, throw a box back across the room, rewind time, start again, and so I'll see a one-to-one representation of myself, walk over, pick up that box and throw it, and then in real time I can walk to the other side of the room and catch that box. So I can throw boxes to myself, and then you start layering those up on top of each other, and then we have world rotation mechanics. So sort of halfway through the game we introduce the ability to walk on walls and walk on the roof and stuff like that, which sort of changes the way that physics works for things, and it sort of progresses from there.
Yeah. So when you do a game like this, could you have seen it working without virtual reality? What compelled you to choose virtual reality in the first place?
Yeah, so I think virtual reality really plays into the playback system. Because we're doing a one-to-one recording of head in your hands, you can really see a lot of emotion when your echoes play back. Like, you recognize in them like some mannerisms that you have, and then like you can see like, oh, that's when I remember I was confused for a minute, but then I worked it out, and you can see that in your recordings. And I think that having that in VR and full body representation really helps, hammer that home and help with the immersion, and sort of really elevates the recording mechanics.
Yeah, man, I'm actually smiling because I remember watching myself thinking, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious.
Awesome.
You end up talking to yourself and stuff in there as well. Yeah.
I definitely,
Yeah.
I have it on a video for Transpose, but I would definitely have my echoes dancing.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, so other than PSVR, which obviously what we're all focused on, what other HMDs has Secret Location developed for, and is there any new or future tech that you could tell us about that you're excited for?
Yeah, sure. So, we try to release all our games on like the major platforms. So PSVR, Oculus, and Vive, and then so we'll be on the PlayStation Digital Store. We'll be on Steam. We'll be on the Oculus Store. You can even get our games on like the Humble Store and a couple of other sort of indie platforms online. And so we cover those three, and then I guess we always try and make sure that it works on the Windows Mixed Reality headsets as well, because it's just a small step for us to get that working off the Steam build. And then we have a whole stack, like we have shelves and shelves of different headsets in the office that we get sent, and we test them out and do prototypey stuff and see like what it would take and what sort of the market looks like for those headsets before we sort of decide whether or not to port our content there. And then I guess in terms of like future technology, I think that totally wireless HMDs, I think, is like the next big step. It's just going to be amazing for VR. Like untethered VR in the home is going to be great.
Especially when, like, I think today I watched or yesterday a video of Nathy doing like a hole in the wall video.
Oh yeah.
And that needs to be wireless. Actually, I think he didn't have his wireless wasn't attached. That was the HTC, and I actually thought, what man, this is the time when wireless would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So I think like when the Oculus Quest comes out next year at some point, then I think it's going to be amazing.
That has come up a lot, hasn't it, guys? The Quest.
The Quest has come up a lot.
Every show.
Yeah. I mean, and it sounds
though.
incredible.
So I was just going to say, it's that danger, though, of you suddenly take the headset off if you've got no wires and find yourself in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Just make a sandwich. It's easier. Like,
There you go.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Go to the
Danish, do us a
headset
favour,
on.
man. If you could carry on to your next one, that'd be brilliant.
Sure thing, man. So, so Transpose has an incredibly unique and very surreal gameplay mechanic with the use of echoes that you were talking about earlier, played recordings of your own actions. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and how this is implemented in the game? Because it's so unique and surreal.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
something that really stands out. It stands out, like, massively.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it records... We're recording your head and hands position, like, every frame. And obviously, on PlayStation, that's like 60 frames a second. On desktop, it's 90 frames a second. So you get really accurate and smooth recordings of these positions. And then we take those recordings, and when we play them back, we apply them to an IK rig, which solves like for your elbows and your knees and your neck and your back and stuff like that. So with three tracking points, we can get a full body representation, which is super cool. And
can I just stop you there? Have you tried Arizona Sunshine? Because I think they tried to do that as well with walking.
yeah.
that is
Dragging
incredible.
across the floor, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it in Arizona. 'Cause, man, it's amazing. Please continue. Yeah, that is an amazing technology you've got there.
Hilarious bugs.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, when we initially did the prototypes, we used a library off the Unity store, but when it came to production time, we wrote our own library to do it from scratch, which really like helped us heavily optimize it for the VR platforms. Yeah, I think the devs did a really great job with that, and it's definitely a piece of technology that we'll be using in the future in some of our other prototypes, and just see where we can really push that and see what's interesting with it.
Yeah, it's incredible to behold in virtual reality, isn't it? When you first start doing that, you get your core and you start recording yourself. You're like, this is a mind blow.
It's
yeah,
the most surreal experience ever.
Yeah, very surreal.
I think we did so much user testing on those first few levels, and everybody sort of had the same reaction the first time they see their recording play back. It's just like it's a great wow moment in VR for people.
And it's a one of a kind as well. It's a one of a kind moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what games do you feel influence Transpose? It's very different, but it feels familiar. Are there any influences from novels or movies as well that went into the storytelling?
I'd say, well, the games I mentioned before, obviously, Does Not Commute was like a heavy influence. I think that's where the kernel of the original idea of the game came from. But in terms of like story and gameplay, like everybody here, we're all big sci-fi nerds, so I think it's just like a mix of like, sci-fi stories and stuff like that we've read that sort of helped us like build the world and what the world was about, and sort of layer in a little bit of a story throughout the game as well.
It almost gives you your own interpretation. You get your own interpretation from it, don't you? Like
exactly, yeah.
Thinking, it reminded me of Tron, and if you have a bit, you're in there, and the way the graphics look and stuff.
Lawnmower Man as well.
Dark City.
Yes.
Lots of different stuff.
Josh, feel free to help yourself to a ham if you would.
I will, thank you.
We've got coffee and ham.
I love it.
It's lovely and refreshing. Because the salt from the bacon can dehydrate you, so you need some ham.
From you. Special guest.
It's amazing.
It fits. We got a couple of hams up there.
You need ham. There's never a bad time for ham. I believe you're next, dude.
Sure. I've got a question for you. Since you brought out your titles, and I guess specifically Transpose, onto multiple VR platforms, can you elaborate on any challenges that you ran into bringing it to PlayStation VR, or any differences between the versions? Yeah,
for sure. So our team has never worked on a PlayStation port of our games before. So we worked with the publisher to get Blasters of the Universe done on PlayStation, but this time we decided to do it in-house, just so we'd have that knowledge in-house so we can do it again in the future. And it was a massive learning curve for us. Like, obviously, the PlayStation doesn't have the power of these these super PCs that people have now with their like disgustingly huge graphic cards and stuff like that. So we had to go back in and sort of rework and like have a really hard look at the code that we've written and optimize a lot through the code. I feel like you can be a little bit more, I don't want to say lazy, a little bit more lax when you're developing for PC as opposed to PlayStation. So we had to really go back in and really tighten everything up a lot. And then in terms of like the graphic settings, there is a slight difference between the representation of your echoes on the PlayStation as opposed to the PC, which was a tough decision to make, but I think it was more important for us to deliver an experience on PlayStation that was like rock solid frame rate and didn't have a lot of hiccups and no frame slowdowns, which I think is really important in VR. So it was a hard decision for us to make, to sort of remove a bunch of the arms and stuff like that. Obviously you can still see your hands and your head and your torso, but you just don't see the elbow and shoulder stuff on PlayStation. And that was really just to make sure that we were hitting that frame rate for every single level. And see, that was the major sort of the major hurdles that we had to jump over to get it running smoothly.
Reggie from Strange Games of Honor and Duty, he's tackling the same problem really. He wants to do a Honor Duty with 32 players online, but he's had to scale it back a little bit currently because he was basically trying to figure out what's more important, the 32 players he's always imagined, or put it to 28, but hit that solid 60 frames a second. And I always go for the frames in VR, always.
Exactly, you always have to go for the frames in VR. I mean, you can have an amazing looking experience, but if it's running at 15 frames a second, it just ruins the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I also get sickness. I don't know if anyone else has ever... I don't get VR sickness, but frames a second is the only thing that can make me not feel quite right in VR. So
yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Really, really bad graphics can make me pretty sick.
Sweet. I believe it's you
I
again,
will
Dave.
add
but
this.
for the most part, nothing.
I got a question.
Avatars are like just awesome. I just thought I'd add that. I love looking at my arms and like looking down at my body. It's like such a cool feeling when you have that.
Having forearms is brilliant, isn't it?
I think
fluid. It's a fluid thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's something that we wanted to have from the beginning of the project. Like Blasters of the Universe, you don't have hands; you just have a gun and a shield. And we thought it was really important for the immersion that you had as much of a body representation as you could, and like getting those arms and those full arms and stuff in there. Like I think that really helps with it for sure.
Yeah,
definitely makes it more immersive.
Oh yeah, I just had a question. What other type of gaming genres interest you in this wonderful world of VR that we have here?
That's a great question. I feel like I've played a million shooters, so I'd and not that I don't like shooters, but I think that genre is sort of like it's being explored a lot in like gaming and other sectors. So I'd like to see other genres of stuff sort of come through in VR. I think like persistent worlds, with like adventuring inside it would be amazing. Like Skyrim VR, but like a multiplayer version where you can like build a house and like
MMO.
Go questing with your friends and stuff like that. I think would be amazing. Like even like a World of Warcraft style thing in VR would be fantastic.
Awesome.
I'd be down
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
100%.
Completely agreed.
That would be so cool.
Great answer.
Good answer.
A SimCity VR will come out one day. Some sort of SimCity.
that'd be cool.
That'd be...
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Sims even. That'd be sweet.
I think that'd be cool
Possibly
too.
that might happen. Yeah. Danish, I believe you're next.
Yeah. So obviously you talk about some of the VR games obviously you worked on, like Blast of the Universe, which is a bullet hell game. You know, you got the Great Sea, which is narrative-driven cinematic experience, and obviously now Transpose, which is a mind-bending puzzle experience. So varied genres. So has it been the same team working on all these three different projects? Because it must take kind of a very varied set of skills and viewpoints to kind of cover those genres.
Yeah. So we have internally at Secret Location two teams that work in the content department on productions, and just depending on the team that work on Blasters of the Universe, we sort of split them up into two other teams, and half of that team worked on the Great Sea and the other half worked on Transpose, and then we hired a bunch more people to sort of fill those teams out. We have about I'd say there's probably like 12 full-time staff, so like 6 full-time staff on both teams, and then when we get into full production, we bring in a bunch of freelancers. So at any time, there could be 12 to 15 people working on the project in-house, plus any like art outsourcing or QA outsourcing. We outsource our audio to some local dudes in Toronto here, which are amazing to work with, who did the audio for Blasters and Transpose and the Great Sea. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's probably a long-term relationship right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, because freelancer music is the way forward. Definitely way forward. Certainly not got anyone else who can do it in-house, but yeah. Sorry, I'm just just from my feet.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if you've got someone that can cover those 3 genres, that's crazy.
Well, you did generate this song. You did generate this beautiful song.
This sounds exactly like the soundtrack. It's amazing. I can't believe you recreated it. Yeah.
It just happens when you make people have good melodies. That's what happens.
Tell Josh your claim to him so far, man, with Pixel Rip.
Oh yeah, I redone the Pixel Rip theme and Pixel Rip, and they wanted to put it on Spotify, so it's on Spotify as a single.
Wow, amazing! Yeah. Well done. Congratulations! Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Good chance for
crazy stuff.
Jimith is an excellent musician.
Anybody else out there listening?
I'm not good. I'm not good. We go. And back to the
show. So, Josh, man, are you guys working on any updates for Transpose or any DLC?
We have a patch that's coming out that has some modified locomotion options. I know people in the community asked for like smooth rotation turning and and a couple of other things. So yeah, so that patch is going through Sony QA at the moment, so you can expect it to be out within the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. And then I mean, when we were building it, we had to leave a lot of levels on the cutting room floor just because of like time and budget. So I don't know, maybe next year possibly we'll release those levels. We'll just see how it goes.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I just jump in here quickly? I'm just curious if you know
they might be doing DLC.
The thought process behind not putting in smooth turning at launch, because it seems to be super common across developers that they don't. Then the community complains, and then they do it. And I'm just curious, is that a Sony thing?
No, it's not a Sony thing. I mean, even the PC version didn't have smooth turning to start with.
That's interesting.
We just always try to err on the side of like of comfort.
Audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously the snap turning doesn't make people nauseous, but it may not be perfect for everybody. So we launched with that one, and then like we don't mind making a patch update if people want different locomotion options, and the community said that they wanted it on PC and on PlayStation, so we're more than happy to put it in there and just push out a patch.
Awesome. It's more for accessibility. Accessibility, I'd say. Yeah.
Just options.
I think with PlayStation, the thing is, like, on PC, obviously, people put a lot of money into a rig. They know they're going to be on a VR player. As with PlayStation, I think because the entry point is so cheap, you get the average person come along and go, what the hell is this? They don't... Either they like click turning, or... Because I notice a lot of games tend to have click turning and head rotation, or a head turning with click rotation. So they're trying to give you a bit of both. But like in Death, for example, that, to me... I don't mind head. I don't know how you guys feel about head turning. I don't mind it. Yeah. I don't. It sort of gives me, but smooth turning for me is preferable, definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
I don't mind head turning. I use it in Solus Project.
A lot of people want to use their controller to sort of steer where they're going as well, which I thought, which was interesting too. So I think that's going to be in the patch. The Skyrim method. Yeah.
See, I personally thought a lot of games on PlayStation VR had click turning because we didn't have joysticks. That was the reason I first of all thought that's why we don't have it, because it'd be hard, but obviously not. That isn't the case.
I believe it's also for... I was going to say, just to segue off of you, I believe it's also for frame rate sometimes. For moving and smooth turning versus having to stop and click turn, I think is easier on some engines, depending on how they've developed that. But my experience has always been, like with my subscribers, is that anybody who really likes VR and considers themselves like a VR gamer, I think, tends to lean towards full locomotion, smooth turning, like immersion.
Exactly. They just take all the safety rails off, essentially.
So I always love.
What's up, Shayna? Thanks for joining. What's some kind of Omni? I'm not sure what that is.
That'll segue me, I guess, into my question. As a fellow Canadian, I was curious. As a Canadian developer, has there been any, I guess, government grants or opportunities to help facilitate the funding of some of your projects? I'm just curious for other Canadian indies out there or people thinking of getting into the biz. Is there options and opportunities?
Yeah, for sure. So full disclosure, I'm Australian, but I work for a Canadian company. But that being said, I've worked at Secret Location now for 6 years, so and I have permanent residency, so I consider Canada home.
Gotcha.
You're a Canadian. We're welcoming.
Okay.
I haven't.
Cool.
I don't know exact.
But yeah, like
look it up. I've heard some rumblings
I'm not sure about
any
other provinces, but definitely in Ontario, there's so much money that you can apply for from the OMDC and the CMF funding grants for game development. You can get money for just developing an idea, and then you can get money for actually the full production of that idea, and you can even get monetary grants for like promotion and PR and advertising as well. So
wow.
It's worth looking into
awesome.
into those funding bodies and doing an application, and there's plenty of money there, and they fund a wide range of different projects as well. So yeah,
very cool. Thanks.
Definitely.
Sweet.
Perfect. All right. So, I mean, you kind of already went over this a little bit, but were there any other like hurdles or anything else that kind of got in the way when you were porting it from so many different headsets? Anything that kind of popped up?
No, I think it's mostly like concentrating on, like as I said, like maintaining frame rate and stuff like that. And then obviously the controller schemes are very different across the platforms too. Like Oculus, you have the joysticks. PlayStation, you just have a bunch of buttons. And even like on Vive, you just have a bunch of buttons as well. So just trying to work out how those what button mappings work best for which platforms. That's always a challenge for us as well. And we try a bunch of different things and test it and see how people feel. And we hope that we try and get it right, but it just comes down to personal preference sometimes as well.
So, for sure. What inspires you when looking at possible game concepts?
I guess things that inspire me are like, firstly, we try and make games at Secret Location that we would want to play ourselves. So, which makes things pretty broad. Like, there's a lot of people that like playing like everything from like Rocket League to Elite Dangerous to like PUBG and stuff like that. So, if we're going to make a game and work on something for 12 to 18 months, we want it to be something that we're excited about and that we won't get sick of playing. That we're going to want to play throughout that time as well. So we usually like have brainstorms, and like we have a game jam every 6 months in the office as well, just to like, because people are always talking about different ideas and thinking about new mechanics and stuff like that, and especially like things in VR, like where we're focused, we try and choose game genres or choose mechanics that really like play into the strengths of VR. So like with Blasters of the Universe, it's very much about sort of ducking and dodging through those bullet patterns, and that's something that you can only do in VR. And with Transpose, again, it's the full body tracking and playback and representation. It's something again that you can only really get in VR, get that emotion and like see what you were thinking, what you were feeling at those times as well. So yeah, just finding mechanics that really help push the VR genre forward.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, good answer.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like that answer.
Yeah, so I was going to ask a question as well. You kind of touched on this a bit earlier with that, talking about that kind of fine line. So obviously a pivotal part of any puzzle game is that balance, right? So that fine line of making sure the game's not too difficult, but it's challenging enough to engage players. So how did you go about finding that balance? And was testing of the levels kind of purely in-house, or was there outside testers that kind of looked at the games and gave you feedback?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a QA lead in-house who plays all the levels and like looks for bugs and obviously gives feedback on difficulty. And then once we get to our alpha for this project, we had people come in and play the game every 2 weeks. So at Secret Location, there's probably like 80 people on staff, but like obviously they're working on a bunch of other stuff. We have like a product division, and a content division, and the content division makes the games, and the product divisions make a bunch of other stuff. So we get people from the different divisions to come and play the game, and they know nothing about it, and we try and put them through. We have a wide range of people like that have a lot of VR experience, as opposed to like people that work in like the finance department, which have very little VR experience. So we have a wide range of people, and we try and put them through. Like every 2 weeks, we get them to come back and play some more levels, and then we got people from the local development community in Toronto as well to come in and play, and we did some blind user testing stuff there. And I think we even asked, we even got some people from Steam that I think I asked for some people on the forums for Blasters to volunteer to do some beta testing for us, which was really great as well. We sent out some keys, and we got some really great feedback from the community as to like the difficulty and the controller scheme and stuff like that as well. So we try and do a wide range of testing, and we try to do testing as often as we can, through development too.
So one thing that's really interesting is, it's kind of bittersweet to see your Echo's life come to an end, but like knowing, but knowing it did its job to help you in the process. Was it like intentional to create an emotional connection with your Echoes?
We didn't set out to create an emotional connection, but it just happened that, like, with the tracking and the playback, that you get a lot of emotion like in those recordings, and because you remember doing those actions and you're working with these versions of yourself, right. I think like inadvertently you sort of you get that sort of social connection with them. But I personally never felt bad about pulling their cores out to get their lives back.
Genocide.
Wave and bite.
That's awesome.
DC, I'll be your friend. You don't have to rely on Transpose.
You've got my core forever.
Just don't pull out my core, yeah.
So when you were talking about earlier, you touched on developing on PlayStation 4 and obviously having to tighten stuff up from that PC to PS. Did you? What was your experience using the Pro during the development?
So we mostly get back on my seat.
Impressive.
Sorry about that. Wow.
So cool.
Too much
Just trying
coffee.
to dodge the question. So when we were doing development and sort of testing, because you have to support both the Pro and the base model, we did the majority of our development on the base model, just so we knew that we have a strong frame rate on there. And then when it came to the Pro, I think it was just like icing on the cake, just to see how it's just a lot more rock solid. I mean, in terms of like the processor and the GPU. So yeah, it was just. We didn't, I guess to answer your question, we didn't really focus on the Pro so much as the base models, because we knew it would be
OG is
even
like
more solid on the Pro
teraflops
as well.
and the Pro is like 5 teraflops.
How did you find Sony's Q&A process?
It's very thorough. I'll say that. And rightfully so. Like, they want to have great products on their platform, and we want to put out the best product on that platform. So they're really great to work with, and QA team is super responsive and gives great feedback. So it could have been a lot worse, but it was great. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, I was speaking to some people about our library or our catalogue of games compared to PC, and I've had the conversation with people who say there's so many more games on PC. That is true, but on the flip side, there's a lot of games that you just probably wouldn't want to play.
Yeah,
Exactly. There's a lot.
I don't mean that horribly, but there's some games that you would, but
I mean, especially on Steam.
Just say it, GT. They're shit.
Yeah, on PlayStation, everything is rock solid, right? But on Steam, anybody can pay $100 and put anything they want up there, and they have no QA, they have no quality assurance on Steam as well. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a smaller library, but it's way more quality. That's for sure.
Yeah. So with PS5 coming soon, what features would you like to see personally with the PSVR 2?
I mean, if they could do it without a cable, if they could do it without a cable, that'd be amazing. I think they probably need to do a little bit of work on their controller scheme. I think having a look at what Oculus is doing in terms of ergonomics and adding a joystick and stuff like that, I think would be a great move for the PSVR 2. That's probably the biggest thing, I'd say. Yeah.
I would say that is a must. I think
just want to see it lighter, like just a lighter headset.
Yeah, definitely.
Joysticks on the controllers.
Yeah, that must be quite difficult.
Stronger processors.
Yeah, man. So, so can we touch on blasters for a little bit, if that's okay? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about it.
So, how many weapon combinations was that? Because I always find this number astounding, and I've got the figure in my head, but I might be wrong. I know it's over 100,000, isn't it?
I think it's over 130,000 different loadout options. Combinations.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah, the combinations never end. It's just, you can always find something new. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's we had a hell of a time trying to balance that. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I remember watching Danish and he was playing it, and I can hear him diving on his living room floor. Like, he's like, I'm on the floor, I'm on the floor.
I was literally diving across my room. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I liked about that? It's like the way the enemies shoot you is almost like a hole in the wall game at the same time, because
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something I don't know anyone else like really noticed that, but I was like, this is brilliant.
For sure.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we designed it that way so that, like, you know, it's a risk-reward thing, you know. You can try and thread the needle through the bullet patterns and get a higher score multiplier and bonuses and stuff like that.
Some of them are
pretty
good.
But if you mess up, you're going to get hit, so... I think it works well. Yeah.
There's a bunch of cheap ones out there though that you want to avoid that are not supposed to be very good. So.
So I was just gonna say a lot of people don't know there's weekly challenges on blasters with leaderboards.
Yeah.
So when you get
there's
in there,
weekly challenges with leaderboards.
Something new to do every single week, and so.
Oh, amazing.
There's just countless hours of gameplay. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think we had a lot of ideas in blasters that we couldn't actually put into the campaign, and that they sort of manifested themselves in the weekly challenges. Which I think was a great place for them to live.
That's great.
Yeah, truly.
Shayna, there is a vest that somebody's been testing out with Beat Saber, and they said it's been working really well.
One of the things when I remember getting putting my videos up was that everyone was asking me what type of gun I was making, because they were so interested. Some people must really struggle with completing the game, and they're saying to me, "What gun have you made? How have you made it?" Like, when you made the game, did you all have different favourite weapons when you made that?
Yeah, definitely. By the end of it, people had their favourite loadouts. I personally liked the reflection shield with, I think, a fast-shooting magazine that has, with the modifier that lets you bounce bullets off to other enemies. I think that was my favourite loadout. Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's a fun one. Yeah.
Pure chaos.
Yeah, it's pure chaos.
The dual shields that reflect. You have to use two of them.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So much fun. Holy cow.
Yeah, double shield. We played a lot of double shield in Office.
What I really wanted to make was where you can place like 3 shields around and just leave them. It didn't work out for me, but I thought it was such a cool mechanic. But I'd be like, put that one that, I'll be brilliant, and something will get through, and
yeah, even though you can like line them up, they still need a little bit of management because, you know, they don't have infinite life. So yeah.
Yeah, even the pixel style as well, like the colours you went for, the art style at the beginning of the story as well.
The story was great. The story was great.
Yeah, when you started that game up, like you really remembered the name Secret Location because of that. I think personally.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there any chance we can go and explore that level, Jason? Or
Yeah, you probably have to go into it singly and do it that way, and not as a group.
Man. No worries.
If you guys want to, that's up to you on your streams there. But yeah, I mean, it'll be available. Yeah, just go in there singly and go through, and it should work just fine for you if you do it that way.
Right, you can do that by leaving your party.
Yeah.
Right, we'll try that then. Is that a wrap? Is everyone happy?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, man.
Josh.
It's been a pleasure to meet you for sure.
Hey, help us out some hand, dude. We got so much.
Let me see. Hold
Hand
on.
for you! Hand for you!
I've seen that one. Also read something about electric material that's hard and smooth by impulse.
That's a strictly Danish ham, right?
Oh, that sounds pretty cool, Shanna.
Danish ham.
Thank you, Josh.
Locally
Awesome. Let's stand up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much for having me on.
I do appreciate you guys. Hey, Jason.
Great game.
Hey, Liv. You know what time it is.
Really good, man.
Oh yeah, we got to do our picture. We always take a picture and leave it in the room, or so we can send it online. So where should we do the picture?
It would be awesome if we could get the crystal. Can we get the crystal in there?
Probably.
We could fly up onto the crystal.
Do you want to do it that way?
Up on it, yeah.
Let's fly up.
Fly up, yeah.
We could all just be flying in front of it.
Yeah.
I think it's when that thing blows
guys,
up,
we're gonna go see if we can check out this room too. I want to go take a look at this. I haven't even seen the room yet.
Yeah.
The 3D is so cool.
You know, it's going to be tough because we got a couple things on each side that we can see. So if we do it, we're going to have to do it as we're looking up at us or somewhere. Well, actually, you know what? Let's
we should do it like down and like kind of.
Let's face this way. Let's face this way. So everybody will be like this. That was nothing back here. That'll be in the shot there. So if everybody's standing this way, looking this way.
Okay.
Like this?
Shug, you're going up like that bit in Willy Wonka.
I know, because
I got a golden ticket.
Charlie Bucket.
I'm a premature flyer.
Charlie Bucket.
Hey.
This thing's so cool.
Carl, did you enjoy the show?
It's cool.
Thank you. Excellent. I'm glad you did.
I'm going to throw myself in the center here. And
I'll take it you lot absolutely love Castlevania then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think Tug has played a hell of a lot of Castlevania.
Nice.
Thanks, Tug.
My dude.
Have you tried the new quest in
Nice to meet you, man.
That's based on Castlevania.
I'm just trying not to be in any way.
Yeah, you could do that.
Crescendo, yeah, man.
The
That
blood
is
moon.
brilliant.
My wristband just.
all right, I got to hit in the center here.
This outfit is inspired by Super Castlevania 4 or Simon Belmont. I wore this for the. Sorry.
Wore this. I'm not blocking anybody.
Good Cannon, move over.
Who's in the back? I can't see. I can't see Dorky. I can't see. I can't see you, Dorky and Jimith. I can't see either one of you in here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I've got room, Jimmy. I've got room.
Yeah.
There we go. We got everybody. I can see everybody now. Perfect.
Yeah?
Perfect. All right, everybody ready?
Superpose, transpose.
I guess we're not ready.
I got you, man. Get back up. Sorry. I got you. The same thing just happened to me a minute ago.
That went there. That would be funny.
That was brilliant.
All right.
Is that somebody flying in back there too, or is that just? That's your hand. That's
Winner.
hand.
Winner of the PSVR. Yep.
Let's do this.
PSVR Without Parole.
2
Award show winner.
Transpose.
Secret location.
Transpose.
The clones. Danish the clones.
Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Thanks
The
for,
clones.
thanks for tuning in.
God Cannon's like, you're not going to be in a picture, Justin.
Just gonna phase you out.
I gave him
Just
20
gonna.
years to
He's
make up for it.
disappearing. You can do that.
Thanks for the
Awesome, man.
The one circuit working.
Thank you guys so much.
Whoever wants to see, if you want to see.
And really, keep up the great work,
Justice
guys.
Chest.
Where'd it go?
I mean, 2 stellar games.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty, man.
All right.
That is a thing of beauty.
Let's go.
I'm going to put
that's
it down
really
on the
cool.
bottom. I'm going to drop
What
it.
is
I'm going
this?
to drop it.
Push
Who wants
me?
it?
Group photos the best
Should I push
part.
this? I don't think I can. All right, so Liv, if I want to go explore the room, how do I get there? If I want to go take a look at the room.
I'm going to open it up right now, actually. So now that we're done with the show, I'm going to open it up so that you won't get the private. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We can
everybody,
go do some
I got
bowling.
a jet.
We've got some bowling.
Later,
to do.
Shuggy.
See you guys.
All right,
Thanks for
publish.
everything. Secret location. Thank you so
Publish.
much for being here.
Thanks,
Love the
Shug.
game. Later.
Yeah,
guys.
cheers. Thanks for having us.
It really means a lot.
Josh, thank you so much, man. Thank you so
Not
much.
a problem.
for doing this.
Anytime. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. This
Keep
is
up-
fantastic.
Yeah, you guys-
Keep up the great work,
Yeah,
guys.
keep up the great work, man.
I've loved both of your
You and
games
Team
on
Olsen.
PSVR so far.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cheers.
All right, everybody. I'm going to kill my stream
Thank you,
here.
Joe. It's Shug.
All right.
Well,
Hey, Liv. Okay.
Shug's going, yeah.
hope you
So,
Good to go.
so how do I get there?
stay tuned for more.
It's open. So just go under my name
Okay. Let's see.
and then go to rooms.
Jason.
Go to rooms.
Rooms.
Top
There
right
you
hand
go.
corner.
Okay.
And then
And
you'll-
where is
you have to scroll through
Transpose?
because there's. Yeah.
All right. Later, guys. All right. Let's check out this room real quick. See how much like Transpose this really is. Oh, I'm excited. But yeah, I do appreciate everyone who's been
Hey,
hanging out, joining.
what's going to happen now?
Oh.
Right, we still got to do this one at a time then.
Right. I don't even see the door yet, though. Do we need to press this first?
Hold on.
This one here, hey?
You press...
Yeah, there it is.
Right, I'm off. I'm going.
All right,
Hey,
I'm going in
Josh
after.
From Secret Location. Welcome to the Transpose Room in Rec Room. Have fun.
So what's really cool about this room, this is like the exact beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier.
It's crazy.
It's great.
You've got your save file. I do appreciate you guys adding the option to have 3 different saves, because a lot of games it'll overwrite your main game if you want to start a new one. So I actually did
a mental point.
I played the game. I got like a good bit into it, and I was really enjoying. I was having some fun where I did a stream, and all my echoes, I would be like dancing around and like flailing. so I'd be watching myself like dancing and flailing and stuff, and was just having a good time with the chat and everything, and it was really cool.
Nice.
So do we have to wait one at a time, or am I able to go in here? Let's see. Let's give it a shot. Let's see. Do you want to, because we have to do one at a time. Okay, sweet. What a cool developer. Man, PSVR, VR in general, just has the greatest developers, man. So down to earth, so in touch with everybody. Just hanging out with us, having a good time. All right. Oh my God. What? Okay. Wow, this looks insanely accurate. So, typically in Transpose, yeah, you'll come up here. You'll have something like this. Let's see. Oh. Can we do it? Yes, it worked. Wow, that's just like the beginning of the game. You put your hands in these cubes. Oh my God, that's amazing. And then it kicks off the game. Wow. This is awesome. They need to add Jimmy's music in here, though. Music was too good. Okay. So the object of the game, it's basically, like they said, it's a puzzle game where you have these echoes, which are your clones. Little bit of platforming. This is definitely accurate. So we're going to... Okay, so now we're going to throw this over to that side. Cool, made it. Got the frisbee. He mentioned something about a frisbee. He just said, I don't know, just throw it. Oh, it worked. Valerian. Wait, that worked. So I did get over. So it would be really cool if I could see. So typically what would happen here is you would start from this point, and then you would see myself that was just walking and talking to you guys and just dilly-dallying over there. You'd see me come over here, and then I'd throw the block and then the frisbee, and I would be right here to catch it. And then the echo would die, which is what I was talking about. It's kind of like bittersweet to watch. And then, of course, so we've got the cube. This is awesome, you guys. And remember, this is open to the public now, so any of the rooms you want to check out, just type in PSVR Chat Show, and you can come see these for yourself. Transpose was honestly a pretty sleeper hit game for me. We made it. This is awesome. And then we should go back to the meeting room. That was sweet, guys. Oh, man. I'm going to have to play some more tonight now. I'm going to have to finish it. I'm really excited. Let's see, is anyone still in here? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I went through. It's cool. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Amazing.
That was awesome. I knew exactly what to do, like the blocks. I saw the blocks. I put my hands in, and the thing came up, and I was like, oh, man. Here we go. Oh, that's awesome, man.
So,
great job, guys.
Did we kind of nail the theme of your game a little bit?
Yeah, it was great.
Hold on, come over here.
It was great. Put your hands in it, and the bridge comes up. Yeah.
He had a small version that actually created something where it can record, like after you're throwing it, and it would replay it and throw it back.
I was saying that. I was gonna say I was waiting for it to see if
it's just not. It's just not working.
Oh,
it's just not working. So
oh man,
It just wasn't working right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, but it was
might
still
have something
cool
to do
though.
with the selector chip.
Gotcha.
I don't think anyone's streaming.
Justin.
Hold on, no, I'm about to kill it though.
What's that?
He done it again. Sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's not good.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out, joining, asking questions, talking. I really appreciate you guys. Do stay, keep in touch. We're gonna have some more chat shows coming up within the next few weeks or so. I will see you guys later.
That is your job to lead in.
Have a great night.
That is not his job to lean into.
For sure, yeah.